Number 10. Taylor Swift. Taylor's tyranny of torment must end now. Taylor Swift has made a name for herself as a person who thrives on the ending of a relationship. Since the late 2000s, Taylor has been making millions in the music industry. Her songs like Love Story and 22 are anthems to many. The catchy tunes tend to come from a place of so-called heartache, however. Taylor has thanked her exes on several occasions for inspiring the songs that made her who she is today. People like Tom Hiddleston, Harry Styles, Jake Gyllenhaal all have had a part to play in the inception of some bops. The argument can and should be made that Taylor needs to just chill already. She's made several songs that were good without the need to berate an ex, and some of those songs that are about exes are revealing. Imagine if after every breakup you've ever had, a song just pops up on your phone by U2 called Why They Left You. Number 9. Chris Pratt. Maybe you know him. Star-Lord. Chris Pratt has had a massive, successful career since first starring as the lovable Andy Dwyer on the hit mockumentary series Parks and Recreation. Since then, he starred in blockbuster giants like the Jurassic Park trilogy, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's even the voice of Mario now. This guy is unstoppable. Well, hopefully that's not true. You see, Chris was almost a part of the infamous Me Too movement, but he somehow escaped our radar. In 2013, Chris was involved with an organization called the Hillsong Church. This megachurch is known for being notoriously anti-LGBTQ+. The church's former leader, Brian Houston, actually went public with their stupid, idiotic, and just wrong beliefs, but we don't need to get into that. While it was only ever rumored that he was involved with the controversial group, it was confirmed by his ex-wife and fellow actor Anna Faris. He certainly wasn't against their beliefs. She claimed that Chris didn't deny specifically being involved with the church until 2022 because he didn't want to throw a church under the bus. Hey man, they might have done some pretty shady stuff, so why don't you just toss them under that bus as hard as you can? Number 8. Ariana Grande. She's got one less problem without you, and honestly we'd probably be fine without her too. Ariana rose to fame on the hit Nick series Victorious before spinning off and becoming a pop singing sensation. While she may be a good girl and good impressionist on screen, just ask Jimmy Fallon, behind the scenes she's reportedly cold, quiet, and much like Taylor Swift, she just hates on her exes through song. When she broke up with Saturday Night Live alumni Pete Davidson, she released a song called Pete Davidson, blatantly singing about and trashing her ex-fiance. The song made her a lot of money, which Pete received nothing of. So hey man, if you're gonna trash someone, at least give them a little bit of the cheddar, you know? On top of this, her behavior in general has just been chaotic. She once left a meet and greet because she didn't like the way that the photos were turning out. Those people paid hundreds of dollars and she was just like, ha, thank you, next. In 2015, a video surfaced of Ariana visiting a California donut shop, and the owners were beyond excited to see her until she started licking donuts and putting them back on the shelves. According to the shop owners, those donuts were never paid for and they actually had to be thrown away. But come on, they really should have preserved some of those and sold them online because hey, people are weird. This incident alone got her nixed from performing at a White House event despite multiple public apologies. The darkest of stories though comes from a Hollywood insider that has not been confirmed to be 100% true, but it might be. The man in question was working with Ariana at a signing event. She was all smiles until the event was over and they entered the elevator. According to them, her first words as the doors closed were, "I hope they all frickin' perish." Well, kinda makes you realize why Nick stars aren't as popular when they're adults. Number 7. Russell Crowe. The Gladiator star and newest addition to the world of mythology in the MCU, playing Zeus, Russell has had a steady career filled with blockbuster paychecks and fans galore. But according to several sources, the Pope's exorcist has quite the temper. In 2005, he made headlines for throwing a cell phone at a Mercer Hotel employee in New York City. Apparently he found out that it was broken and he threw it without looking, and it exploded on impact. That incident ended up being taken a bit far, but that was not the only example of his escapades. In 2016, he returned to the media circuit, this time facing charges of alleged violence towards rapper Azalea Banks. That dissolved into a he said she said situation that was settled outside of court. Crowe has also made a mess on set in his early days. A producer on the film Gladiator claims that Crowe became furious and violent when he discovered just how much the producer's assistant was being paid. The situation forced the producer Bronco Lustig to quit the production. While many fans loved Crow in Gladiator, the people on set, that's a different story entirely. His career is slowly on the decline, so who knows, maybe he'll throw a phone at someone that he shouldn't and finally get cancelled for good. Number 6. Rihanna. According to some of her fans, Rihanna's a rude lady. Fans shared their story of a co-worker who experienced firsthand just how cold Rihanna can be. They told insiders that they won free tickets and backstage passes from a radio concert. When it came time for the co-worker and her kids to meet Rihanna, she was sitting at her makeup booth and refused to face them. When the young fans asked if they could get her autograph, she instructed a nearby backup dancer to just forge a signature before shooing them away. Oh, well, you want my signature? Okay, bye. Go, get someone else to do it, I'm too busy. In 2016, she further added fuel to the fire when she shared a photo of a young fan wearing a dress inspired by Rihanna's Wile E. Coyote themed costume that she had worn at an awards show a few years prior. She wrote, "Dark Thought Rises" with the hashtag PromBat. She shared that post with millions of people, alienating countless fans and ruining one fan's prom memories for the rest of their lives. By the way, I looked it up. If someone calls you a thought, kick them as hard as you can in the worst place that you can find. Fans may have turned on her, but she has yet to be officially cancelled, so I don't know, she really needs to be, so let's get on that. Number 5. Tom Cruise. While Tom may be an action movie star and was once a young Hollywood heartthrob, he's got a massive temper since day one. According to both former assistants as well as several co-stars from Tom's past, Cruise is a regular toddler and is known to throw tantrums, being set off by the smallest thing. His former manager, Eileen Berlin, presented Tom with a gift on his 19th birthday. She gave him an album of teen magazine articles written about him, and apparently that set him off. He told his manager that he considered himself an adult, not a teen idol, and threw the book right in her face. Another example of Tom's aggression was on display during the filming of his recent Top Gun sequel, Maverick. During the time, Tom and the rest of the film crew were tasked to shoot on an actual aircraft carrier, still in use by the US military. One of the crew posted on Twitter calling out the audacity of Tom's behavior. They tweeted, "Tom Cruise was really on our ship telling people not to talk or even look at him." After a few choice words, the crewmate made it very clear that Tom was not welcome aboard their vessel. These are just two examples though. Tom has blown up on film crews several times in the past, to the point where his Mission Impossible 2 co-star was constantly scared of Tom on set and what he may freak out about next. This dude's still making movies though, so hey Hollywood, kick him out and cancel him please, it's time. Number 4. Jared Leto. Jared Leto is an interesting fella. He started his own religious group, he brings a new meaning to the word method acting, and let's just face it, this guy sucks. Over the past few years, reports from Jared's fellow actors are anything but positive. During his time as the Joker, he left his fellow castmates used adult devices, pig heads, and live snakes in their trailers as so-called gifts. He was trying to stay method as the Joker, but anyone on the receiving end of that gift, well, probably wished that he would just chill out. On top of that, he's been known to stay in character, meaning that if he's playing someone angry or silent, well, that's how he's going to be the entire time. This guy hasn't really been questioned for his actions at any point in recent history, only ever being called a weirdo and just kind of leaving it at that. With his career still well on the rise, here's hoping that Jared will eventually be called out for good and added to Hollywood's do not hire list. Number 3. Jon Hamm. The Madman star doesn't just look like your typical college jock. Turns out he actually was one in the early 90s. Jon took part in a hazing incident at the University of Texas in 1991 that led to Jon receiving criminal charges. The lawsuit was filed by a member of the Fraternal Society organization who claims to have been severely injured, dragged by a hammer, and had his pants set on fire. The person also claims that Jon was involved until, quote, the very end. Criminal records show that Jon was charged for this incident at the time, receiving probation and an official charge of hazing. He participated in all the classic hazing activities, some good, but mostly just downright degrading. While this took place way back when, Jon's roles, combined with his supposed cold shoulder default towards his fellow co-stars, has landed him on the must-cancel list. Number 2. Morgan Freeman. The voice of God himself, Morgan Freeman has been a soothing soul for many, many years. To this day, families can hear Morgan narrate the world around them in an immersive 360 IMAX screen at the Science Center in Toronto. He may be a comfort to some, but according to a few women, Morgan is their nightmare. Morgan has been accused of inappropriate behavior on multiple occasions between 1991 and 2015. According to one production assistant from the film Going in Style, which is a bank heist movie starring Freeman, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin, Morgan subjected her to unwanted touching and comments about her figure and clothing on a near daily basis. Lend me your ear. This move is rarely received well. Get yourself a new move, or better yet, don't have a move. Just walk up and say hi and show her your Beanie Baby collection. Be normal. According to her, in one instance, Freeman attempted to lift her skirt and asked to see her underclothes. She was not the only one to speak out, however. A senior member of production staff on the movie Now You See Me 2 told CNN that Freeman harassed her and her female assistant on numerous occasions, making similar comments on figure and clothes. I could go on and on with more and more examples, but just to save some time and boil it down for you, Morgan Freeman is creepy, and I'm sorry to say, but this guy needs to retire for good as soon as possible. And at number 1, at number 1, it's Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle dominated the comedy scene in the 1990s and early 2000s. His stand-up was considered to be the most gut-busting and entertaining around, and his role in films like The Nutty Professor, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and the cult classic Half-Baked, he took a bit of a break from starring in films to focus on his family and his true passion, stand-up comedy. Despite being on stage for over 12 years though, Dave never really learned to follow suit with the times. There were certain topics that just became rude to joke about, and many jokes considered to be funny in the 80s and 90s have not aged well. Unfortunately, that seems to be all the material that Dave has. In one of his most recent Netflix specials, he made jokes aimed at the LGBTQ+ community. Jokes that are not worth quoting or repeating or googling, just none of it. They were rough enough to have Dave's fans turn on him immediately. While he was cancelled by his fans, Netflix actually defended the comedian, claiming he had artistic freedom even after a group of Netflix employees and transgender advocates staged a virtual walkout. The co-CEO Ted Sarandos, who released the statement, later admitted that he handled the situation poorly. "Oh, did you, Ted? Did you accidentally defend a man who was making fun of gay people? Oh gosh darn it, oopsie doopsies." The fact that this man is still allowed to make money off of his specials, or even perform in general, as the number 1 spot of we should cancel him.
At number 10, Rihanna. Rihanna might seem like a nice, happy-go-lucky person who's always going hard for her fans, but it turns out that she actually has a little bit of a dark side. I guess you could say that she's savage, like Savage X Fenty. No? Alright. It seems like on a few occasions, she's been quite mean to her fans. She's no stranger to shoving a phone out of her face when approached by a fan, and she's been known to yell at paparazzi and fans when they get a little too close for comfort. On some more unpleasant occasions, she's been filmed smacking a fan on the head with a microphone. During one of her concerts in England in 2013, the singer whacked a fan with her mic because they had reached their hand out to her. Like that. And in another savage incident, Rihanna mocked a 16-year-old fan online for having recreated one of her red carpet looks for prom, where she called her out on Twitter and made fun of her look, calling it expectation versus reality, and posting a side-by-side comparison. Not the nicest person in the industry, that's for sure. At number 9, Ezra Miller. This one was a little shocking, but it turns out that Ezra Miller might not be as nice of a guy as we think. You may have seen in the intro a video of Ezra Miller choking and slamming a woman to the ground. This video, when it first hit the internet, was thought to have been a joke, but it really wasn't. This happened during an altercation at a bar in Iceland when a group of fans approached the actor and things got out of hand. Bystanders of the incident described the group as being very pushy, and it seemed like this was what triggered Ezra's violent reaction. Things escalated and he lost his temper, leading to the physical altercation. Some say that alcohol may have contributed to the incident, but the bottom line is that Ezra's outburst was not cute, and it really surprised a lot of fans. Just before I continue on with the video, I'd like to ask you guys to maybe consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. We love getting your positive feedback, and your likes really help us out too, so please go ahead and show us some love by smashing that like button. At number 8, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't a very nice person. Some say that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just rude. Apparently, the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact with her. There are even reports that she sometimes flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during a filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. She doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people she's worked with either. She is said to have completely ignored the people who were remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights, and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. JLo just gives off bad vibes, so I think maybe it's best to steer clear of her whenever possible. At number 7, Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire might look like the fun and lovable Peter Parker on screen, but unfortunately that's far from who he really is. Turns out that Tobey is really just a Hollywood jerk, and fame really just drove him to being that way. He started off as a pretty humble guy, but after the Spider-Man films brought him so much fame and success, it consumed him. Towards the end of his Spider-Man days, Tobey had something of an attitude problem, where we saw him harassing people at a poker game, even going so far as to tell a woman to bark like a seal for $1,000. He also racked up a hefty production cost for the third Sam Raimi Spider-Man film because he needed doctors on site at all times to deal with his bad back, and he was only able to walk a certain amount of steps in a scene before needing to quit. Those who worked with him often called his attitude inappropriate, and he's really just been badmouthed by a lot of people he's worked with over the years, so he really doesn't seem like that much of a nice guy. At number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. I think this one's a little obvious because it's Ellen. We've done a lot of videos on Ellen. Ellen has been exposed as one of the meanest people in Hollywood. Even though she was all about kindness and spreading good vibes on her show, it seems like Ellen's angel persona on TV was quite the opposite in real life. Many staff members as well as other people who've been on the show with her and have worked with her in the past have started coming forward to talk about Ellen's mean streak in Hollywood. It turns out that there are some workplace horrors afoot over on the Ellen show set, with people claiming that you're not allowed to look Ellen in the eye, and those who approach her are often spoken to rudely or even face racial biases. Also, there seems to be some kind of drama with the toilets on set. I guess people's butts are very prestigious or something. There have been reports of Ellen getting people in trouble for having chipped nail polish, for giving away fan mail, and apparently there's a rumor that Ellen picks one member of staff to be mean to every day. Lovely person, isn't she? Halfway through at number 5, Christian Bale. Christian Bale's temper is really something to behold. I really wanted to include a clip of one of his outbursts, but there was so much swearing that no one has time to bleep all of that. After his outbursts on set, from crew members upsetting him to fans getting him riled up, Hollywood has begun to paint the actor as someone with serious anger issues. In one instance, according to Christian's former assistant, he once wanted to kill a fan. Fans seem to have really upset the actor on multiple occasions, so apparently once Christian received a fan letter at home, he said that the fan should be eliminated. He described wanting to thrust a screwdriver through the fan's eye and into their brain to the part that prevents screaming. I'll let that one sit there for a second. On another occasion, Christian went on a 4-minute swear word ridden tirade where he really chewed out a crew member from the set of Terminator Salvation. That one I have no quotes for, because if I repeated any of those words, this video would be flagged, and just trust me when I say Christian Bale is one mean SOB. At number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele is another celebrity who's been exposed for her mean streak this year. Following a Twitter exposure from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, Lea has now been described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star isn't the only testimony that has come forward recounting her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and just so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's known to be. At number 3, Amber Heard. I couldn't make this mean celebrity list without including Amber. That's like watching a Marvel movie and leaving before the end credits. You just don't do that. I'm sure that we all know who Amber Heard is by now, and if not, where have you been? Amber and Johnny have been the media's it story this past year, and we've learned so much. If you've seen my recent video where I gave you the top 10 worst Amber Heard moments, then it's no surprise to you that she is a horrible person, but if not, let me recap some of her highlights. She's gotten into a fight with her sister, she's been recorded confessing to hitting Johnny Depp, she's pretended to have been a victim of a violent crime, she's smuggled her dogs into Australia, pretended not to have known about the laws there, and tried to get her assistant to commit perjury. She's responsible for Johnny's severed finger, and she's supposedly planted stories in the media to deliberately shift the focus from Johnny to her. Because of all of these things that have come out about the actress, there's just so many people from around the world who just really hate her. There have been petitions to have her removed from certain movies, and she's lost a lot of respect from fans and some Hollywood people as well. So yeah, she definitely belongs on this list. At number 2, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal seems to be this super great guy who's given back to his community, donated to all these charities, and has done a lot of work to benefit a lot of people. I mean, the guy has a whole foundation in his name, so this one might be a little controversial, but this was news to me, so I thought I'd share it with the class. There was an incident in 2014 when Shaq mocked the appearance of a man named Jamal Binion. Jamal suffers from a rare genetic condition which has resulted in some facial deformities. It seems like Shaq saw a picture of him online and recreated the image himself, posing his face to look like that of Jamal. Well, he didn't think it was very funny, and even though Shaq apologized, it wasn't enough, and so he issued a lawsuit against the basketball star, as well as 2 other people who mocked his condition for $25,000 in damages. The lawsuit claimed that the image was shared to nearly 10 million people around the world, so this public mocking was grounds for seeking damages. Shaq may not be a mean guy all of the time, but this instance sure did open a lot of people's eyes to the NBA star's actions. And finally at number 1, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well. She's had some bad relationships with others, and she's known to be something of a diva. But this takes the cake. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants which claimed that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and then called her some pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage just couldn't cover up the alleged abuse sustained by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager which cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. It seems like though she pays her people well, she doesn't treat them as well as she should.
And at number 10 we have Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase has had so many bad interactions with people over the years, we truly just do not have the time to name them all. One story came from comedian Rob Huebel, who was so excited to meet the star. However, when Huebel approached him and tried to talk to Chevy Chase responded by slapping him in the face, then saying, quote, "Can't you see I'm talking to someone, kid?" Excuse me, what? Slapping someone because they tried to talk to you? Chevy is also the only former SNL cast member that is banned from the show because he slapped cast member Cherry O'Terry while he was guest hosting in 1997. He was also known at SNL for being very insensitive with his jokes, basically insulting anyone and everyone. According to the book Saturday Night, A Backstage History of Saturday Night Live, Chevy was a, quote, viciously effective put-down artist, the sort who could find the one thing somebody was sensitive about, a pimple on the nose, perhaps. Definitely not the vibe I was picking up from watching his movies. And at number 9, James Corden. Late night host James Corden seems like a sweetheart on TV, and he's beloved by many around the world because of this. But his reputation off camera is quite the opposite. And he's actually known to be awful to staff on set and even fans too. His reputation has gotten so bad that when he did a Reddit AMA back in 2019, tons of people used the thread to share their terrible interactions with Corden. One user reminded everyone about the time that Corden showed up to a private Writers Guild meeting to advocate for lower pay for TV writers, even though they're known for being paid pretty low wages already. Another spoke about how they saw the movie A League of Their Own being filmed, and during the filming they saw Corden throw multiple tantrums over minor things. The last person said that they had tea on all the late night hosts, including Corden, saying that James Corden is known as an among writers and Jimmy Fallon is an alcoholic. However, Jimmy Kimmel is actually a good guy apparently, according to this Reddit user. All in all, it seems that Corden's a nice guy act is all fake. And at number 8, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts is another actress who has a pretty good reputation in the media. However, tons of people on Reddit expose that she's actually mean in real life. One of the commenters claimed that they had worked with her on a photo shoot, and apparently the whole time she was basically screaming at everyone. And apparently it's a well-known thing that when cameras are not rolling, she is terrible on set. Another popular rumor is that the cast of the set of the movie Hook hated her so much, Her nickname was, quote, Tinkerhell. However, to her credit, she had just ended her engagement with fellow actor Kiefer Sutherland after learning that he was cheating on her. Apparently, Roberts decided to not give herself a break after the split and started filming Hook days later. And even though there were rumors that director Steven Spielberg hated working with her on that movie, he also came to her defense when asked about her behavior. He said, quote, Julia probably went through the most trying times of her life, and it was simply bad timing for all of us that she happened to start on Hook at that low point. And at number 7, Mike Myers. This one breaks my heart, but the comedy legend is actually really terrible in real life. He's known for being mean to colleagues, fans, and his personal assistants. In an interview with the AV Club, Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill shed some light on how bad he can be on set. Apparently, he hired an assistant, and their entire job was to follow him around all day and feed him chocolate from a Tupperware container when he wanted it. She also exposed that he was a diva, making everyone wait around for him, as well as micromanaging everyone on set. The director of Wayne's World, Penelope Spheris, is another colleague that had some choice words to say about Myers. She called him, quote, emotionally needy, and saying that he, quote, got more difficult as the shoot went along. And at number 6, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock is another star that has shocked people with just how mean she can be in real life. When fans have had the chance to meet her in real life, they might be expecting to see warm characters like her role in The Blind Side. But that's not the case. A former fan named Denise Codes told Star Magazine in 2012 about a run-in with Bullock. Apparently, her and her husband, who is a veteran in a wheelchair, were out for a walk, and the couple ran into her during the filming break. Apparently, the couple asked for an autograph, but things did not go well. Denise said, quote, Sandra was so rude. She covered her face and yelled. He just wanted an autograph, and she actually yelled at him. Now, I understand not having the time to greet fans and how annoying it probably is to be hounded, but like a single wheelchair-bound veteran and his wife, in what world is their polite request for an autograph warrant a yelling match? You know, we don't know the full story, but that one's pretty bad. Halfway, number 5, Jon Hamm. So this one is extra juicy because it involves one celebrity calling out another. In this case, Kathy Griffin called out Jon Hamm for being rude to her at a party. In her memoir, comedian Kathy Griffin shared a story about Jon Hamm confronting her at a party, rudely asking her who invited her. He even went on to make comments about her, quote, failed career and mocked her age. At the dinner, she was speaking with Jack Nicholson when Hamm came up to her and asked her, quote, what are you doing here? Then she replied, quote, I earned my seat at the table. What are you doing here? Kathy said that Jon continued to get drunk as she was discussing Rupert Murdoch with Jack, where she continued saying, quote, Hammy picks that moment to start whispering boozy yammering into my ear. First it was him saying, you know your Emmy isn't a real Emmy. I let that one go, but he whispered, you're so old. And Kathy admitted it was not only the rude comments that pissed her off, but the fact that he was interrupting some precious time alone with Jack Nicholson. And honestly, I just have no idea how Jon Hamm could make those comments and not think that Kathy Griffin was gonna blast him for it. And at number 4, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones gained a reputation as a mean girl after it was revealed that she made some questionable comments to a young fan. Allegedly, when an 8-year-old fan told Zeta-Jones that she wanted to become an actress, the fan was left completely devastated. The girl recalled the awkward moment years later, saying, quote, she turned to me, looked up and down and said, quote, you're pretty enough, I suppose, then went back to her conversation. I went from feeling at ease in the world to constantly thinking about how everyone was judging me on my appearance. But that's not the only comment that has gotten Zeta-Jones backlash. In one interview with The Mirror, she said, quote, I'm sick of being humbled. I really am. Sorry I'm rich. Sorry I'm married to a movie star. Sorry I'm not so bad looking. And based on those comments, I'm definitely sensing some mean girl energy. And at number 3, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl quickly became one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, but she ended up earning herself a bad reputation just as fast. She first became a household name on the show Grey's Anatomy, but she burned bridges with the show in 2008 when she actually pulled her name out of contention for an Emmy Award after being nominated. Heigl said in a statement, quote, I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention. But of course, fans of the show, as well as creator and writer Shonda Rhimes, were not pleased, and quickly found a reason to write Heigl off the show. Heigl got some more bad press after she decided to badmouth one of her own movies, Knocked Up, in a 2007 cover interview with Vanity Fair. After a string of bad PR, she was essentially blacklisted from Hollywood. And at number 2, Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg earned a bad reputation after he was interviewed by journalist Romina Puga and came off very rude, belittling her throughout. During their conversation, Eisenberg made tons of digs at Puga, like making fun of her interview style, joking that she had questions written on her hand, and joking that she was on his time when she joked that he should hurry up. During the interview, it seemed like there was a potential their banter was actually playful flirting, but Puga revealed later that she was hurt by the interview and his belittling comments, while Eisenberg felt that she found his dry humor amusing. Eisenberg said after, quote, "I remember she was laughing. Even after she left, I said to people in the room, what a relief. Like that was the most funny, interesting interview I'd had all day." So his rudeness could just be summed up to miscommunication. And at number 1, Ellen DeGeneres. Of course, I could not make this list without including the current queen of mean, Ellen. Ellen's fall from niceness all started when one of DeGeneres' former employees, Kevin T. Porter, tweeted out that Ellen was, quote, notoriously one of the meanest people alive. And the replies of the tweet shared tons of negative interactions that people had with Ellen over the years. This sparked a whole wave of exposing, and not only of Ellen, but her show as well. And it was revealed that her show had a toxic work environment, and her staff were verbally berated constantly. There were even reports of inappropriate conduct by high-level producers of the show.